This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Happy Halloween, motherfuckers. I'm your host, Duncan Baz. Welcome to the show. Now, ladies and gents, there was a slight change to October this year. Slight change, for good reason. But we could not, in good conscience, let you go through the entirety of this month without at least celebrating one episode where we rechristen the entire month, we change the holiday as it is, and bring it home to Bazoween. So without any further ado, the real voice you want to hear, because you're sick of hearing me every single day this month, is of course, the man, the myth, the legend, the Baz.
Hola, sexy Bazoween bitches. It's your big, massive disappointment coming at you live. Hoist the Baz flag.
Hey, I'll tell you right now, I sadly lost my... That's the only one in existence now.
No!
Yes. Dropped.
Oh, no.
There was a moment where I was like, can I justify the ridiculous price of remaking one of these? And my wife interjected at that point, and she was like, no, you can't, Duncan. So she took it off my hands, but yeah.
God damn that.
It's the only one that exists, Matt. That right there is history.
Yep, because we only sold two, and that was to you and to me.
I get the feeling like either I did the worst job at marketing, which might be the case. I'm not a great marketer. Or like people were off the day I posted that was a campaign that lasted a whole week, but yet at the end of it only me and you ended up. But apparently, according to the internet, people on the Facebook group page, had I posted it at that moment, we would have sold 6 million of them. So like
In fairness, but we flogged a few of the t-shirts.
Yeah,
the t-shirts went down quite well. And I remember folk were sending in their pictures and all that. So the t-shirts went alright.
Someone sent a photo of them on the toilet wearing the t-shirt. Which, I mean, someone will always lower the tone. It's almost as good as when Scott and Liam gave us their t-shirts. And I showed up in a photograph only wearing the t-shirt and modestly covering my penis.
I remember it, but we're not going to talk about them anyway. I'm still not talking to Liam.
Oh, right, we're going to have to get this out the way at the start just now.
Yeah.
Is this
probably.
Like... I don't think this is Liam's fault. I want to say this might be your fault. Right. So, give us some context.
That's just a matter of conjecture, to be quite honest, Duncan. That's legal semantics.
It's just your opinion, man.
No, you don't even know the half of it. So the story here, good listeners, anybody that listens to Jaws of Shite and other regrettable outbursts will be aware of Liam's midlife. Well, it's not even that, he's that young and attractive looking, but his later life crisis where he started skateboarding. Like
during lockdown, like everyone else, I don't know, made sourdough bread, but Liam built a skate ramp and then took up skateboarding.
Yeah,
at 30 years old.
So he had done that. So anyway, my son, the elder of the two boys, has got quite into scooters, and we've been taking them down to the skate park, and they love racing about in their wee scooters and all that. That's fine. And Matthew had kept going on that he wanted a skateboard, and I had tried to kind of say to him, it's not the same as just being able to jump on a scooter. Like, pretty much anybody can jump on a scooter, and it takes you 2 seconds to get your balance on it, and then you can enjoy yourself and have a good time. Skateboarding is not like that, you know. So I was a bit worried about this. But anyway, his gran bought him a skateboard for his birthday, and in fairness, she also got him all the knee pads, not the things that you're supposed to wear. So So that was fine. So I then had this brainwave that perhaps I could get my hands on an old one just to go down with them. Because I thought it'll probably... You'd see where this is going. Anyway, the upshot was, I found there was a guy in Stirling selling one on Facebook Marketplace this day. I happened to be in my office and I was like, I went back and he was only selling it for like a tenner or something, and it looked kind of half decent to me.
Did you send him a message saying my kid's looking for a skateboard so you didn't show up looking at it for yourself?
No, I didn't, because what I did was I sent the link to Liam to say, is this any good? I just want one that I can take down to the skate park with a wee fella, so I can... And he was like, he says, oh no, he says, they're really designed for kids. He says, they won't take your weight for too long and then they'll bend or some fucking thing. So, because Liam being Liam is like, I've got one lying about, can I just...
He does, that's the thing.
Mine?
We've been at his house and he has...
Oh, yeah.
He has hundreds.
He's got hundreds of the decks and so on. I don't know how many he's got made up at entire things, but anyway... next minute he sends me this photograph of this skateboard. He's like, it's a wee bit scraped, I'm sorry. I'm like, well, one, you're giving it for me for free, do you know what I mean? So I'll get off that high horse. And also, knowing Liam, it's probably top of the range, this thing.
Probably been used once and then put in a cupboard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, this is the one, I think he said he had it for a couple of months before he hurt himself, which he's not really got back into the skating.
Foreshadowing at all? Like... I had this one for a couple of months, then injured myself and took me out of commission. Here, have the cursed object, Baz. I pass this to you like the video from Ring.
Cursed object is right. So Matthew thought this was the best thing that had ever happened. He's like, oh my god, Dad, if you get a skateboard, I can't wait, blah, blah, blah. So we're down there on the Saturday morning. And I had skated a little bit, and I mean a little bit, when I was young, like 20 odd years ago, 25 years ago or whatever. In fact, more than that. 35 years ago, in fact. And but after a wee minute or two, I was kind of getting, I was able to push myself and get on it and starting to be able to, you know, I mean, it was coming back in little bits and jabs, and that was fine. So then my wife was there, but she was going to get balloons for Matthew's birthday party. She says, right, listen, I'm going to nick away and get these balloons. I'll be back in a wee while. She came back about 20 minutes later. I'd ripped the knee out my trousers.
Your good trousers?
No, it was a pair of cords I had on. The other leg was covered in blood because I had landed on glass and cut my thumb open and it had dripped blood on me. You know what I mean? I've got the other knee's now bleeding where I dripped open. It's like, what the hell happened to you? I've only been gone 20 minutes. What a fucking disaster. But, all that being said, the real pain was yet to come because it's only now that I am beginning to feel anything resembling normal, and that's over a week now. And my shoulder is still not right, to the point that I think I've obviously damaged a tendon or something one of the times when I hit the deck. But the worst bit was just as I was sort of thinking I was getting the hang of it, and that this other guy, we'd gone in the morning, there was nobody at the skate park, so just me and the two kids, so that's great. And then this fucking guy turns up again with his kid, and his kid's got a scooter, and I'm like, oh, same boat, twinsies, you know. And then this prick starts fucking ollie and kick-flipping over barriers and all. I'm like, oh my fucking god. It's like Tony Hawk's Scottish cousin or something like that, do you know what I mean? And by this point Shite Hawk. By this point I've ripped my trousers and I'm bleeding profusely out my thumb, do you know what I mean?
Where's his war wound, Baz? Where's his war wound?
Shite Jack Horner. It was just fucking terrible. But I firmly blame Liam.
Yeah.
And see, in fairness, he's like that. He says, this is a terrible idea, what you're doing here. Yeah. I'd gone round to his work. This is even better. Sorry, I don't want me to talk about horror films in this, but fuck it, let's just talk about pals. He was at his big workshop thing.
Yeah.
So he's like that. The Friday when I wasn't working, I was like, I'd swing by and pick it up Friday. Just come to the workshop, get it. So it goes in. So it's him and the guy John that he works with. John is diligently working away like a...
Liam's not doing anything yet.
Actual professional kind of body fare, you know. Liam's fannying about in the background somewhere. So I goes in and I'm blethering away and he's showing me the board and oh that's fine then. And then I'm like that. Is that the skate ramp that you built? And he's like, no, that's the one I bought. The other one's out the back. So he's showing me these fucking like big proper skate ramps and that. And then I turned around and I was like, oh my God, is that the car, Liam? You know, he's got that fucking Mustang.
Yeah.
So then he's got that going and he's revving it like fuck. John's wee Doug's having fucking epileptic fits in the corner of the fucking hangar. Right, so we're fucking about in his car for a bit. His whole workspace is just a massive kids' playroom.
His whole house is a massive kids' playroom.
I know. The best bit, right, so there's two porta cabins inside this big hangar unit thing that he's got. And he's got one he's putting up drum skins on it now, and he's like that. It's like that, aye, that's just fully on my t-shirt print and shit, but I'm going to get all that out. I'm going to get a drum kit in it and like amps and all that. So I can jam it. He's like, come on, I'll show you. So he goes in and he's like, I'm going to put them here. And he's just pointing at things going, I'm going to have this here and that here. And I was like, Liam, is that two surfboards there? Aye. And he just looked and he's like, aye, that's two surfboards. You are... I'm so envious I can barely speak, but you are just a massive man. You should two surfboards lying there. Do you know what I mean? But he's turning this porta cabin into a crash pad for the Hellcat fuck pigs, as we're now known. So apparently we're all just going to go and hang out in an industrial estate in Airdrie. But in saying that, it's probably going to be better than our houses combined.
And so you know what? Like at the end of it, it is going to be like, it's going to be lush.
It really will, man. It really will. And then he'll give up. The dream is that he just gives up this pretense of work and just gets all the shitty vans and all that out. And you know what I mean? And we just have the whole thing as a massive play area.
I keep meaning to talk to him about this. I think he's missed his true calling of, he has the, not that I want to give him ideas, and I'm going to tell him this on Sunday when I see him, but like I think he's got the infrastructure in place that, say if he wanted to start his own indie record label, he could do it.
Yeah.
Easily do it. And he could handle a lot of the overheads that other labels have to deal with, a la merch printing, like, you know, all that sort of thing. He could do it in-house and take away that thing. If he wanted to, he could probably make a good go of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be something that he'd be interested in. So I don't know why he's never thought of it. So I'll float it by him again.
That's true.
I'll take a finder's fee from it, Baz.
He's the Hamilton Van Wilder, though. That's he is my party liaison.
So, notwithstanding the damage that he had, let's get into it. Like, October has been a weird fucking month, man. It's been a weird month. What I love about this is you took part in the Rawhead Rex in Pieces series.
Yes. Yeah.
Even though you beforehand told me you hated that movie, and you loved that movie so much on this watch that you're emulating the outfit of the main character. I mean, that cardigan looks comfy.
Bitchin' is the word that you're skirting round here, McLeish. This is my squirrel cardigan.
What you like? Have you been watching anything? Like I this year I've been doing my 31 of October, but like I've been cram watching stuff. So as opposed to watching one every day, I've been like maybe bulk watching 3 or 4 and then a couple of days off. And as a result of that, is just because of the travel and stuff, like I've been away for about half the month. So this is the first time that has ever happened to me. And it's thrown me completely off whack. And as a result of that, I don't actually feel like we are, when this episode drops, it is Halloween, but we're recording it about a week out. It doesn't feel like Halloween. It doesn't feel like October for me. It's very bizarre this year.
Yeah. Obviously, with the deciding that we weren't going to go ahead with Bazoween in its usual format this year, that kind of changed October for me, because normally I'm frantic at this point, trying to get films watched, trying to... in the past couple of years... Yeah. And then in the past few years, I've also tried to do the kind of however many days of Halloween, like my wee get on the 31 days kind of thing. Oh, what the fuck I was thinking. Anyway, so this year... But weirdly, I've noticed, I didn't think you were even doing it, because I hadn't, normally you post all your stuff and you've not been doing that, and a lot of people that normally post every day during Halloween, haven't been this year, so I wondered if a lot of folk had kind of...
Well, because I wasn't doing them every day, I kind of felt like posting them like one a day felt the weird way my brain works. It felt like I was being dishonest or disingenuous. So I was like that. I didn't watch it on that day, so I'm not posting it that day. So I decided just to take a break from that. To be honest, I posted like about 1 million photographs of Japan, so everyone was sick of me posting everything. So I kind of stopped like doing like a lot of social media stuff out with that. So I am still like I think as it stands just now, I'm moving ahead at the moment, which is kind of good. But yeah, I mean, I've watched a ton of stuff. What's been really interesting about this year for me is I think there hasn't really been maybe out with 1 or 2 movies that I genuinely think are like fucking Jeff Kiss incredible this year. The quality has been of a really, really consistent standard, but there hasn't been much that I'm like that. Oh, this is a sleeper right now. See, 5 years from now, people are going to be talking about that. My like up there amongst my top 3 for the year, there's a title there that I know for a fact most people will fucking hate if they watch it. And it's not just because it's a Duncan movie; it's because it's predicated in a time period and an atmosphere that's intrinsically British. And that's just going to it doesn't gravitate to America. They didn't live through movies like Tales of the Unexpected, shows like Tales of the Unexpected, or movies like The Stone Tapes or Quatermass Experiment. They didn't have that weird kind of trippy, off-kilter 70s folksy sort of thing. So The Ennis Main, which is the movie I'm talking about, I think is fucking incredible, but I couldn't in good conscience tell anyone to watch it like that. It's a movie that just really... Like it worked on my wavelength. Me and Big Scott saw it at the cinema, and Scott
that's right. I remember that you had to go to the GFT or something.
That's right. Yeah, it was hardly played. It's now available everywhere and whatnot. But his kind of feeling on it was he thought it was all right, but he didn't really understand a lot of it. Whereas I come out of it just being like, "This is cinema." Which happens, that happens quite a lot.
Oh, I've been there when it happens, mate.
Yeah,
it's something to behold.
I'm just like, this is everything that we need. But like, I saw it, like obviously recorded it, rated it very, very, very highly. Did an interview with the director and put out there, and then you could see the trickle off of comments where people were like, "This is not very," or like when it made its way to America, and just people going, "I don't get it. I don't understand it, or I don't know what the purpose is. Nothing fucking happens." Just like that, and I'm just like, well, this is why I wouldn't recommend it. Have you been checking out any?
Well, I have. So I'm trying to think. So I'd watched the first 3 of the Exorcist films previously when we were still attempting to do Bazoween.
Well, as we're saying as well, we are going to revisit that at some point. But
definitely, we'll definitely do it. But I think at the start of the month, and I think we probably just squeezed it into October, I watched the 4th one with Shed Stew, because Shed Stew's actually been watching all the Exorcist movies with me.
Excellent.
But I actually fell asleep during that 4th one. It was... I'm not going to say any more on it because we probably will do it in the show. But we did that. But no, so then I happened on an idea that... you know how there was that new Jigsaw movie came out?
Saw 10 or whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it is. So
technically I decided set in between Saw and Saw 2, I believe.
Oh, right.
That's when it's actually set. So
when that kind of dropped, Sky had put like the whole Saw collection available on Sky Cinema.
Oh, you didn't, eh?
And I was like that. Do you know what? I was like that. I know what I've seen the first one. And I thought that I had seen maybe another 1 or even 2.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I'll just binge them, right? Because I really I saw at the cinema.
Yep.
And really enjoyed it at the time. And I think I've watched it at least once or twice since then in the kind of intervening years. Certainly once since I've been working with you on the show. And I've got more of a horror knowledge. So I sat there and I watched the first one again, and I was like, it's all right. It's all right.
That's my feeling. I get diminishing returns every time I watch it, if I'm honest.
Yeah,
it's weird.
I fully agree with you on that. That's definitely happened. And then I watched the second one, and then I watched the third one, and it is like pulling teeth. Now, to the point, like, I don't think I'm going to bother going on. And you know what I'm like? I'm normally have to see them all.
You're a completionist.
You know what I mean?
Like,
totally.
like
Baz v Horror only made that 10 times worse. But with this, so I think I've called that quits at about number 3. I'm like, oh fuck no, that'll do.
I don't have, like, the thing is, like, I have a lot of respect for the Saw franchise, right? Because it's maybe the last horror franchise which every year in October released a new movie. That used to be the thing, like when you watch your Nightmare on Elm Street, your Friday the 13th, those were like bam, bam, every year you got a new one, and all the way through the 80s, you were guaranteed under. I love that about, like, Paranormal Activity did the same to an extent where you got bam, 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 and Saw did that, and Saw's probably the last big franchise to do that, notwithstanding like the new Halloween trilogy or even the new Exorcist trilogy, which isn't doing it every year but has basically said 2 years from now you're getting the next one, 2 years from that you get the next one. So like basically doing the Marvel thing of kind of this is the timeline for the releases. Saw did that, you know, and it kind of stuck to that. I think a lot of people, and I don't want to throw too much shade here, give too much credit to the writing of Saw, because I think what they do is like, well, it's all connected. Like the continuity is like ridiculous. It references things from previous movies and it loops in, or someone does something in that previous movie that's like, and then 4 movies later you find out how it's all connected, and it's like one big jigsaw, and it's really, really, really smartly done. And I don't think that's the case. I think that the movie leaves enough that you could easily tie things in well after the fact. I don't think for 1 second when anyone was making Saw that they already had the second one written. I also don't think after the second one was made they had the third one written. And I don't think anyone had the end game of, you know, whatever it was, Saw 8 or Saw 7 or whatever that last one was, kind of written out. Because if that was the case, we wouldn't have had a Saw movie after that, which like was bad, or the Spiral movie, which was a standalone movie, which was not good either.
That was awful. I watched that a while ago. Just out of interest, again, thinking, I quite liked Saw, and maybe this one, because it's not actually a Saw movie, might be quite, it's fucking terrible.
Oh, it's terrible. So, like, I think it's easy to read it. My criticism is also on, like, I think it's the same thing in the Insidious movies. I think the Insidious movies do weird kind of callbacks where a door was chapped in the first movie, and then you see a character do it in the second movie. And how clever is that? That's written that way.
Yeah.
Absolutely no guarantees there was going to be a second movie written, and if that was the case, it would have existed fine, and you know, in its own little bubble. Same with the Marvel movie.
Paranormal Activity did it a bit as well, actually.
Yeah,
like,
by the time you get
to the door and stuff like that.
I think it's the 4th one where they look back in on themselves.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So like they do something similar in that one, the kind of standalone one, which its name escapes me, which was the kind of
the marked ones.
The marked ones, where they do something that links into the 3rd movie. I think it's easy to write those things when the movie before, or even the movie before that, leaves itself or lends itself to, we could do something behind here, or how did people, well, let's or even answer questions that maybe no one had, but it seems like clever writing. And as a result of that, I think if you strip a lot of that out, Saw movies are actually just the same movie over and over again, which I'm fine with a slasher movie, but my tolerance for like kind of torture movies, like by the 5th movie, nothing was phasing me. And we've spoken about this before. Like movies that do like torture and gore and violence have diminishing returns with me the more they push it, because I get to a certain point where I'm like, there is no likable character here, there is no purchase for me at all, there's no in. So all it is shitty people having bad things done to them, and that to me is not entertainment. So if that was the case, I'd watch Big Brother, Baz. Zing.
Indeed.
So you've bailed on Saw.
Yes, I bailed on Saw. What else have I watched? So obviously there's the film that we're going to talk about later on tonight.
Yes.
Which is a documentary, but it is a movie-length documentary, and as a result of that, I'd said to you earlier on off camera that I had returned to the movie that claims to be inspired by that story. So that's another couple. But a film that I watched the other night, which I've been wanting to watch for ages and found it quite hard to track down. I figured I fancied buying myself the Blu-rays, and I couldn't seem to. A lot of them, it was like German copies of it and stuff like that. Anyway, it was Hatchet.
Oh, wow.
So the first Hatchet film had dropped on Amazon, I think it is, over here.
Wow, yeah, Adam Green, Hatchet, yeah.
And I thought, do you know what, I'm going to check that out. And I had a great time with that movie.
The Hatchet movies are a lot of dumb fun. They're another one where the longer they go on, they kind of start to lose their impact. But I like the first two, I think, are kind of great. The third and fourth ones, maybe not so much. But, I mean, it kind of puts itself out as, I believe the tagline at the time was the next great American slasher movie, or it was something like that. I remember watching it, and if you grew up watching Jason Voorhees, if you grew up watching Leatherface, if you grew up watching things like The House of Eyes or anything like Funhouse or whatever those were, when you watch that movie, it captures a lot of that in there. And Adam Green himself he's not a phenomenal director. He did that movie Frozen, the one on the
the ski lift.
Ski lift, yes, that's him. That's his movie. He did that, and Digging Up the Marrows, which I think is an alright movie. I think it's a
I don't think I've watched that one.
I think it's a copy of Nightbreed, but I'll not go any further forward with that because sometimes people get upset. So it's fun. Like, a Hatchet is a fun movie. The second one I think is better than the first one. So if you get a chance to watch the second one, I think you'll enjoy it.
Because I think it's available somewhere as well. Yep. So anyway, but yeah, I really enjoyed Hatchet, and you could just switch off. It's really compact as well. It's only 80 odd minutes long.
Oh yeah, it gets in and gets out very quickly.
That was good fun. I enjoyed that thoroughly.
The second movie changes the lead actress. So she didn't come back for the second movie, and it's replaced with Danielle Harris. Right. And
same character, but just different actress. Right,
and all I'm going to say is, the movie opens with Danielle Harris at the police station, in the shower, washing blood off her titties.
Hot damn.
So, like, it's how the movie starts, Baz.
Damn.
It's how it starts.
It's only get up from here, boys. Yeah, so there was that. Another one I checked out, which I have differing feelings about, was one that you had told me about a while ago, and I had made this offhand remark about it, and you went like that. Yeah, that's exactly what it's about. Was Glorious.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's on Shudder. Over here.
The Lovecraft Glory Hole movie.
Yeah. Just as a wee appendage there, though, Shudder, particularly in the UK, can go fuck itself.
I've literally just recorded a review of something else yesterday, which will drop like before this one comes out, for a movie that's about to hit its way on Shudder. And in my review, I basically said Shudder in the UK, pretty shitty. Shudder in the US, for whatever reason, still running fine. So
yeah, I'm so annoyed, and I don't know why I've not cancelled my bloody subscription. Because the other thing was, I did away with the yearly subscription, and I just get it through an Amazon Prime subscription now. So I can drop it whenever I want. I don't know why I've not, because it's the output. The new output coming out every month is paltry. Half of it is various episodes of like review shows, and it's not even like you're getting 8 new movies. You're maybe getting 4. And some other
let me tell you, before this episode drops on the 27th, that's this coming Friday, from you, there is a movie called When Evil Lurks coming to Shudder, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, I will not cancel before then.
Yes,
right, okay.
It's Argentinian. It's directed by the dude that did Terrified. So not Terrified.
I was just going to say, was Terrified not an Argentinian movie?
Yes, it's the director's new movie. It's fucking great. So,
Terrified was really good.
Terrified
I really
was
liked
excellent.
Terrified.
I don't think this one is as good as Terrified, but I think it's a ball hair off it. And basically, it exists in a world where, in this part of Argentina, possessions are a real thing, and people are aware of them. People get possessed, right?
Oh, right, okay.
The locals know about it, the police know about it, like civil servants, like the church, all the rest, they just know about it. And it's kind of just part of the culture. But when someone gets possessed, it's like the start of a kind of ticking time bomb to them birthing an evil on the planet. And there's certain rules that people have to behave, and it's a two kind of haphazard brothers. It's a serious movie. I've got to stress that. These two haphazard brothers. I don't know why balloons just flew past me. Did you see that?
Yes.
Is that because I've got my fingers up?
I don't know.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Oh! That is weird.
I genuinely thought Pennywise was about to come out my couch and rape me. They all float down here. These two brothers. I wonder if that happens for you.
No.
Nah, your computer's not.
That must just be because you're.
This goes mine.
Fuck you see that? look, it's floating up now. That's another
one. So, these two brothers kind of come across this entity, and then it's kind of like a countdown from there. But effects, fucking great. Acting, excellent. Story, brilliant. Paced, brilliant. You're gonna love it. It's
nice.
Very, very, very serious, but it's worth keeping your Shudder subscription to the end of the month, Baz.
Oh, definitely. I'll definitely check that one out. That sounds
so you
good.
watched Glorious.
Glorious, on the other hand, and I will say I like the wee guy that's in it, the wee Australian fella.
He's been in other stuff he's been in True Blood.
He was in True Blood, yeah. He's done a few movies in that as well. I think he's originally a Neighbours actor, but in fairness, so was Guy Pearce. So do you know what I mean? So let's cut it some slack. But yeah, it was quite something.
It's kind of I quite liked it. I quite liked it because it gave me something I hadn't seen before. So
yeah, totally, and it took a very different path than what I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
So that kept me hooked. There is a brilliant bit, and I'm loath to actually talk about it in case somebody wants to watch the film, but there is a twist kind of in the middle where what you think needs to happen does, and it rapidly gets thrown back in his face kind of thing. Yes. And I properly belly laughed at that. I thought that was great. Yeah, it's a bit fucking bizarro though.
So it's directed by Rebecca McKendry, who made her start as a horror podcaster, and she was a chief editor at Fangoria for years, the horror magazine, and then made a transition over. She did a horror podcast called Shockwaves, and then went off and did the Blumhouse horror podcast, and then ultimately she does still podcast. I can't remember what the name of their podcast is. I occasionally listen to it, but she's also she has a doctorate and she's a professor of horror essentially, and she's recently made the transition into making movies, and it's really interesting to see the path that she's taken, because she speaks about things more analytically than her movies. Her movies are a lot more fun than how she approaches horror from a review point of view, which I quite enjoy. I thought, like I say, will I ever watch it again? Probably not. Did I ever think I was going to watch a Lovecraft movie about a fucking an old god in a glory hole? Never in a million years. Never in a million years. So
there was something gaming-esque about it, I thought, as well.
Yes, very much so.
Anybody that's watched American Gods,
it
has a wee flavour of that about it as well. So yeah, it wasn't. I think I probably laughed. I think I maybe liked it less than you, but in a similar vein. I did take something away from that film, and it could have
You'll
been.
never forget it. Like you forgot about the Conjuring 3. You will never forget about it.
Totally. Totally. So that was that. I think that's probably all the movies I've done recently. My wife and I watched a very good show. I believe it was on the BBC over here. I think we watched it on the iPlayer called The Woman in the Wall.
Oh, right, I don't know about this.
Watched that. So it's very dark kind of mystery thriller. There are horror elements kind of sprinkled into it, but I wouldn't call it a horror thing, but it's very dark and very creepy, and it centres around the kind of idea of the Magdalene laundries.
Wow,
over
right.
in Ireland. So it's set in the Republic of Ireland. It's set in this little coastal town in the Republic of Ireland. And it ties into all that. There appear to be some supernatural things happening in it as well. I won't say any more about that kind of thing. It was really good. My wife thoroughly enjoyed it as well, kind of thing, because it doesn't lean into the supernatural element so hard that it would kind of distract for her. Colette will watch a kind of horror film, but she's not really that kind of gung-ho about them kind of thing. And I think if it had lent too far into that, she would have got bored with it. But no, that kept us going. It was a 6-parter. It's available on the iPlayer still over here. It's definitely worth a watch for somebody that's wanting something a bit. There's very little light in it. It's quite a grim thing. I like that though. I get a lot out of shows like that.
It's the same as me. I enjoy like a good bit of very, very serious dark drama. You know what I mean? I like about that. So that was good as well. We checked that out, and weirdly it tied in a little bit. I had been listening to, I can't remember if I've spoke to you about this. I don't think we've spoken about it in a podcast. I got right into a lot of the BBC podcasts recently. BBC stuff's been fucking great. See, their investigative stuff has been absolutely awesome.
And what it started, they'd done one called The Missing Madonna, which is about the theft of a Da Vinci painting from a castle in the Scottish borders. And it was great. And the girl, the Liverpudlian girl that did the show, her dad, you find it was this ad that came on the radio for it, and she's like that, and this guy was my dad, and I'm like, oh, that's quite cool. You know what I mean? And I listened to that, thoroughly enjoyed it, but obviously you're then getting bombarded with ads for the other ones. And I get totally sucked in, but there's one called The Cruelty, which is about a story that's more commonly known as the unknown bairn. Bairn, for our American listeners, being a Scottish word for child. And it's about the body of this little 3 or 4 year old child that washes up on a beach on the East Coast. And nobody can find out where this little kid came from. There's nothing identifiable on the body. It had been in the water for a few weeks. And the town, I can't remember for the life of me the name of the little fishing village that it's from, but they almost adopted this little child. It affected a lot of the people in the village, and they all kind of came together and they buried the wee kid and got a gravestone made for it and everything, and it just said on it, it was called the Unknown Bairn. But they made sure that he was remembered. They would go up every year and lay flowers for him and all that kind of stuff. Just because they felt terrible that this had happened to this wee child. Anyway, there was various theories. Some people were trying to say it had floated across like from Scandinavia or something like that. But another theory that had come out was that, and I can't really remember why the kind of rumour started, but there was rumours that the child was part of the traveller community.
All right.
And it turns out that the guy who did this podcast, the kind of investigative journalist that did it, he's from the travelling community. And what attracted him to it was, he said, for people out with the traveller community, they don't realise the attachment we have to our children. It was almost like this, all have been travellers, and they've just left the wee kid there. He's like that. the travelling community is the polar opposite of that.
Yeah.
You know, he says you can go to graveyards and you'll see the graves of traveller children, and they are like shrines to these kids, you know.
Yeah.
So this always stuck with him, and he investigates, and it's absolutely fantastic. It goes away down this other path, and it becomes about the abuse suffered by the travelling community in the kind of even into the early 80s in Scotland.
Yeah.
It's absolutely fascinating, and without ruining anything for anybody, the title, The Cruelty, you assume it's the poor because of the mistreatment of this child, right?
Yeah.
It's not. It was actually the name given to the RSPCC, which was the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children.
Yeah.
They became known colloquially as The Cruelty, and they play into this story. It's jaw-droppingly good.
I can't wait. I've just hit download on it. So
oh my god, it's phenomenal, Duncan. It really is. My wife's cousin Pauline, that was the actress, when she moved away from acting, she started writing, and one of the earliest things she did, she wrote a play, and it ran at the festival a few years ago, and we went to see it, and it was called King of the Gypsies.
Yep.
And it was a one-man play, and the guy on stage is playing like the last of the kind of gypsy storytellers.
Yep.
And like he brewed a pot of tea at the start, and he's giving tea out to folk in the audience and all that to kind of, you feel yourself getting drawn in.
Wind. Yeah.
And then he recounts a lot of these stories, and a lot of them are based in reality, and there would be images come up, like news footage and stuff would come up behind them, and that kind of interested me in the travelling community at the time, and this hooked me in. But oh my god, listen to it, it's phenomenal, Duncan.
Yeah,
it's such an interesting story.
Binge the fuck out of that, Baz, because you know what I'm like. You get me hooked on a podcast.
Indeed. Oh, I think I rattled it in a couple of days, and I don't listen to them to the extent that you do.
Yeah, I listen to them like almost 24/7, so like I don't disconnect. Excellent. Well, Baz, I'll tell you what. We're going from a really interesting story that gives a lot of context, a lot of history, a lot of serious subject matter, and we're going to turn our attention to the main thrust of today's Bazoween, where we could have picked, like, to be honest, originally I was like that, we'll pick a classic horror movie you've never seen, we'll watch it and all the rest, and we're bouncing things backwards and forwards, and I was like, you know what, I know for a fact this is going to anger my blood, so let's just do that. Netflix, like a week ago, dropped The Devil on Trial, which is the story behind a real murder trial in America, where the defense was that the accused was possessed by the devil, so the devil made him do it.
Yeah.
Now, I know what you're thinking, but as Baz alluded to earlier on, if you've watched the third Conjuring movie, that is loosely based on the book which Ed and Lorraine Warren helped publish, and this is the true story. I'm putting that in quotation marks for those that are watching the video. You will have seen it. For those that are listening to the audio, I'm definitely doing that because, yeah, we're going to talk about some stuff, and I'm really looking forward to doing it. So before we get to that, we're going to take a short break, though, give us a chance to wet our whistle, stretch our legs, and when we return after the trailer, we're going to be discussing The Devil on Trial.
When I was 11, he was possessed by the devil.
A bizarre murder trial gets underway tomorrow.
The devil made me do it.
I said, why am I here? And he said, well, you just killed your friend.
The nature of our defense has never been used in the United States is demonic possession.
But the tale really begins at the end of this driveway, where the Brookfield couple, whose 11-year-old son began acting strangely.
You can feel something watching you.
We didn't believe him at first.
David said this entity spoke.
He told David he wants his soul today.
Ladies and gentlemen, the ghost hunters, Ed and Lorraine Warren.
You and I were meant to be. Ed Warren said, you're going to definitely need an exorcism. We thought we were going to have a new start, and it didn't work out that way.
He said, there's no way I did this. You got the wrong person. He goes, no, he's dead, and you killed him.
The Warrens argue it was the demonic influence now inside Johnson that drove him to kill.
And I knew right away Barney was possessed by the devil.
There was a stabbing. This is an open shut case.
Well, this story, you want to know who's telling the truth.
What do you say to somebody who says, I just don't believe any of this?
Well, I would hope you weren't on the jury.
And welcome back, ladies and gents. Well, let's get down to it. You've just seen the trailer for The Devil on Trial. This made its way to Netflix on October 17th and is written and directed by Chris Holt, who appears to have a ton of experience in TV. I was looking through some of his IMDb's and it looks like he has done a lot of TV based around like specific stories that are kind of true crime related. So he did the Washington Sniper, he did the Hillside Strangler, that sort of thing as well. So, I mean, it feels like a natural jump to be doing something else kind of true related-esque. The documentary itself stars a lot of the people that were involved with the original case, as well as some reenactment actors who are in here for various different reasons. The synopsis for this one is: using reenactments and home videos, this dark documentary investigates the apparent possession of a young boy and the brutal murder that followed. So, we chose this because, one, like I said before, as soon as I saw it was coming on Netflix, I was like, this is going to make me angry. I'm going to get angry. Because I know I am, and two, I know we do like doing a little documentary every now and again.
Yeah.
And the difference being the documentaries we've done in the past are real things with real stories that affect real people. And this documentary is a real thing that happened that galls me that we're this far. Now, I will put my cards on the table right now. If you hadn't guessed, in the years that we've been doing this, I adhere to no religious belief at all. I don't believe in supernatural entities. I don't even think I believe in aliens. I haven't really given that one much thought. But I don't believe in ghosts. I don't believe in God. I don't believe in the devil. I don't believe in heaven. I don't believe in hell. I don't believe any of that, right? So I'm coming in with a particular view on things.
Mindset on it, yeah.
However, what I do know from conversations with yourself, going back over different movies, specifically a movie like Martyrs, where me and you came down on different opinions at the end of the movie, predominantly because of our, following or lack thereof, in my case, to any particular religious belief. You have a belief in something, which might, I don't know if it necessarily fits in with what's going on here, but you believe in at least a higher power of some description.
Yes, it probably does. I mean, it's no secret I was raised Christian.
Yeah.
My mum and dad were both, staunch.
I've lost your audio.
You've lost my audio?
I don't know how I've lost your audio. It is still recording, but I can edit it back in. So okay. It might be my headphones. So give me 2 seconds. Let's find out what the fuck's going on here. Try talking.
Aye.
That's you
me now.
Just keep going and I'll bring it in.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Will I start from anywhere in particular, or
just like from the bit where I said higher power?
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's no secret to anybody that's followed the show for a number of years. I was raised Christian. You know, we were churchgoers in the family and stuff like that. And my views on it have changed quite drastically over the years. But I do maintain a belief system. I have a belief in a higher entity or something along those lines. I don't particularly subscribe to the biblical, you know, the Bible. The idea a lot of these fundamentalist Christians in the States and stuff have, that, you know, it's the word of God and that's how things. I mean, I just find that farcical. That grown people in this day and age could still have that. I actually don't have a problem with Christians sort of living their life by the Bible and using that as a group of parables and stuff like that to, you know, convey a moral code and a moral structure for living your life by. That's fine, but, you know, just don't expect me to believe the Garden of Eden was an actual garden somewhere with a talking snake and an apple in it. Do you know what I mean? And to be honest, I think the church would be doing a lot frigging better if it admitted that itself. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But yes, I do have certainly more of a kind of belief system than you do. You are kind of confirmed atheist and have been for a long time. Yeah. You know. So yeah, but I would say it probably does lend me towards stuff like this.
Well, I was
more
thinking
than it would you.
Yeah, like I was thinking, it'll be interesting to see, like, if and when we actually sync up at all on a lot of what goes on here. So for those that don't know, the premise of this documentary actually does follow a real precedent. So the real precedent, the only confirmed real part of this story is that a man murdered another man to trial, and as his defense, he said, I was possessed by a demon, the devil, whatever it was, and his lawyer put forward that case as a defense based on the testimony of the family that he helped out. He was like engaged to the daughter within this family.
And
Ed and Lorraine Warren, who, I mean, I don't like Ed and Lorraine Warren. I think they're wholly manipulative, very, very evil people. Like basically shysters. They went around like playing into and almost on some level steroid injecting people's fears and paranoias and delusions to levels that were like unreal in order to make themselves more holier than thou and grift, essentially, make a lot of money, which they did, right? And the Conjuring movies are the latest byproduct of this. But basically, a series of movies, 3 thus far, with a expanded fucking universe, making it comprehensively the most successful horror franchise of all time in terms of money made, not taking into account inflation, but it is, you know, like those 3 movies have made an obscene amount of money, and none of them are really true stories. They're based on events from the Wardens, once again using quotation marks. Which means there is a small number of this interaction between the Wardens and the people involved in it happened. Everything else beyond that is conjecture. With the worst one of those being the second one, which is based on the Enfield.
The Enfield haunting,
Which, like, I know I've spoken about this in other shows to other podcasters, like, well, it's just a movie, and I'm like, no, it's not just a movie where you say that they came in and saved the day when they were on site for less than half a day, and it was purely a photo op. You know what I mean? That's, to me, that's the bit that I struggle with it. This movie, well, this documentary is basically, it covers the events that happened before the murder, which is the belief that the young child, the
youngest son was possessed. Yeah,
was possessed by some sort of, was originally behaving strangely, and then the wardens came in, and the wardens said he was possessed by a demon. And then they fucked off for some reason. They just left this kid. You deal with it. And then they buggered off, and then things escalated. And then they came back, performed an exorcism, and during the exorcism, the young lad that would go on and commit the murder apparently got so spooked that he basically said, you know, I wish this wasn't in you, I wish it was in me. Yeah. And then, like, Ed Warren said, like, oh, you shouldn't have done that. And then a couple of days later, he stabs to death a guy who he's in a drunken argument with, and then claims he was possessed. And then this goes to court. And meanwhile, the wardens are with the family, doing all their stuff to do with kind of essentially trying to fight for the guy's freedom based on the fact that they believe he's possessed by a demon. Yeah. And also at the same time writing a book. Which we're going to get to, because the last 20 minutes of this documentary to me were the bit where I was like, at least they're going for it. At least they're like trying to lift the curtain back a little bit. But everything before that made me want to throw things at my screen, Baz. There's a great bit in this where a police officer, and I'll jump around a little bit, and I want you to bring me in, but with the police officer, when he's talking about the murder, which, I mean, linearly speaking, in the documentary happens like about the second third. We jump from the possession to the murder, which is the main thrust of the story, but we want to get that possession bit in at the start because it's a juicy bit, where a police officer says something along the lines of he has a drunken fight with this guy, he has a knife on him, stabs him a lot of times, and then claims the devil did it. What are we doing here? And I'm kind of watching the documentary going, that guy, right, like buy him a beer, like, he's got it. What are we doing here? Like, I couldn't get my head around the fact that this went this far without the judge going, sorry, like, not in my court. I couldn't get my head around that. And ultimately, and I'm, like I say, I'm kind of jumping about, but ultimately he is found guilty on a lesser charge, which in itself fucking is an indictment on the American justice system. Like,
found guilty of manslaughter as opposed to and not murder.
Yeah, which, what are we doing here? And like, it didn't even serve 10 years. Was out a couple of years.
I think he served, he was sentenced to 8, I think.
Yeah.
And served 3. Or something. 3 or 5, I think. He served half of it.
Someone is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And 5 years.
Yeah.
And they have a cheek, Baz, to complain about the British justice system being lenient. Fucking 5 years in cold blood because he said the devil. Wasn't me, sir. It was the devil. I found the kind of the rage setting in, and one of the big things for me is telling like that Satan would possess this child allegedly, and would be using terms like douchebag, which I was like, what the fuck? Like, and at least in The Exorcist, it's, you know, like, cunt and your mother sucks cocks in hell, and it's full on. In this one, it's like that. You're a douchebag. I was 2 seconds away from saying cowabunga, man. And like, I was like, fucking. I was so angry. How did you get on with this? How, like, be honest, like, when you were watching this, did you watch the Conjuring movie before this one as a recap, or did you watch after for context?
So, timeline was you and I think Big Sexy Dave went to see the Conjuring 3.
In the cinema? Yeah, but
in the cinema at release time, right?
Yep.
Then, a couple of days ago, I watched The Devil on Trial, the documentary that we're talking about, and then last night, and I finished it this morning, I had rewatched The Conjuring 3 because it's also turned up on Netflix at the moment.
How bizarre!
I know. Now, as I said to you, I couldn't. I knew that I had seen The Conjuring 3. I could not remember one single thing about it. Now, in terms of the Conjuring movies, so putting the Warrens to one side at the moment, you've got the Conjuring movies.
Yep.
The first Conjuring movie, I thought was amazing. It scared the absolute bejesus out of me. Now, that was a good number of years back.
Yep.
Probably wouldn't have that effect on me now, but it proper scared the crap out of me at the time.
Yep.
The second one I saw much later, and I watched that after having watched, it was a BBC. I think
it's fucking amazing.
Thing,
and like, yeah, the BBC thing is
called The Enfield Haunting, which is great.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And I then watched the Conjuring thing, the Conjuring 2, and it just fell on its arse because I knew the story. I think that the Enfield Haunting was much closer to the truth. It still did have the paranormal, explanation to it all, but it was much closer to the truth. So I didn't particularly like the second one. It just... That showed it
like
up
Patrick Wilson playing like Elvis songs on his acoustic guitar.
But I had no memory at all of this film. After watching the documentary, I thought, I can't remember watching a film about this. And I literally had to go back and watch The Conjuring 3 again. And at points I was going, oh, wait a minute, I do remember. I remember that bit, and I remember that,
Yeah.
So that was that. As for this documentary, so I think I watched it. It took me about kind of 2 attempts to get through the whole thing. So the first bit, I was sucked in just by the whole ooky spooky nature of the thing.
Very well done. It's very well done.
And that's what I would say. It is a very well made documentary. But you were talking about the true crime stuff that we've done in the past couple of years, and it tends to have been BBC stuff that we have done.
Yes.
Brilliantly made, stories told really well. It's people that were involved in it, and the people are very believable. And most of them, I think, were Scottish based as well, which obviously you and I, you relate to these people.
Yeah.
So the people involved in this, in the original possession, again with the air quotes, and the subsequent actual murder, are pretty much all in this. The ones that are still alive.
Yeah, so
certainly the boy who claimed to be possessed is in it.
His elder brother and the guy who committed the murder, and I think his sister. I think his sister.
Well, the sister, I'm fairly sure her material in it is archival material.
Well, they said she died a couple of years ago, didn't they?
Yeah, so, and there's another brother as well. So there was 3 brothers altogether. All 3 of them are in it. But rather interestingly, the older one, who gets kind of bad-mouthed by one of them right at the start, only appears in it really for the last 20 minutes or so.
It's interesting, because he provides a different narrative.
Yeah.
Which, like, when I heard that, I was like, oh, this, like, everything's starting to connect. But yes, you're right, so
maybe
sparingly.
Maybe it was my lack of kind of cynicism towards it and stuff like that, but I was watching the first half and like, that is creepy, and all this stuff happening and blah blah blah. And then, as you say, about 20 minutes before the end, the eldest brother gets reeled in, and he's like, this is all shit. Now we've watched this grown-ass man who is the child that was originally supposed to have been possessed, and he's there going, I was possessed by the devil, and this happened to me, and that happened to me, One of his brothers going, my wee brother there, possessed by the devil and all that, So these people are still sticking to this story, what was it, early 80s, so 40 years down the line?
Yep.
The eldest brother's like, nah, none of this fucking happened. It did happen, but it was my mother was orchestrating the whole fucking thing, and here's why, and he starts rhyming off different things, and there is a great bit in it. I know that you didn't like the Warrens, and I don't really have any, or I didn't have any feelings towards them, purely because I have never looked into the Warrens themselves. I know that they're portrayed by, Vera Farmiga and Dingmy Wilson there in the movies. I know they are real people. I have seen very brief clips of them on like talk shows and stuff like that, but I had never really read into them, so I didn't have the kind of cynicism of them that you have.
Yes.
But there's a bit, the brother says, he's like, and the Warrens were there, do you know what I mean? Now, my brother is lying there, and he's screaming all these obscenities, and this is supposed to be happening to him, and that's supposed to be happening to him. and they are just more concerned that they are getting all of this on tape, that it's being filmed and it's being recorded. And I was like that, you know, that's a fair point. These people claim to be, you know, the only exorcists outside the church, sanctioned by the Holy Roman Catholic Church, you know. His wife claims to be a psychic, and that's how she's able to do all of this stuff.
Yep.
And they are doing it to save all these innocent souls who are under attack by the armies of hell, essentially.
Yep.
Why are you so obsessed? Because there's a picture at one point of trying to hold the boy down. Somebody's obviously taking this picture, and another person has a microphone shoved under his mouth.
Oh, aye. Yeah.
And I'm like, actually, see now that is put like that, that is extremely telling.
Yeah, it's like context, like changes a lot.
Yeah,
I
just think it was really, really well done. Just before you come in, the other bit, and this is what put the nail in the coffin for the whole thing for me, is like that. There's a bit where my brother says, and he rhymes off something. The wee boy, in his possessed state, says something directly to the mother, and it's not something you would say to your mother. And he's like that. And now they'd mentioned earlier on that the father took nothing to do with any of this.
Well, this is a like the from it's not even that the father didn't. The father at the start said, "I think the kid might have some mental health issues.
Problem.
I think we should go and seek professional help."
Yeah.
And his wife shut him off. Like there was no like once again in context, there is no medical advice in this one. They go straight from the kid's acting weird. The kid says something's in them. The wardens are there. There's no like, let's go and seek medical help, and the physicians are saying no, clean bill of health, or he's going to see a psychologist, and the psychologist or psychiatrist is saying no, there's nothing wrong with him mentally. To take you to that level, they go from that like to the wardens.
Totally.
So the dad distanced himself because they say he ends up working 2 jobs.
He's doing 2 jobs.
He doesn't have to be
around home. He sleeps, just doesn't want to be around it. But the elder brother recounts this particular incident with the wee boy where he says this really out of line thing to his mum, and he's like, "My dad just burst into the room, grabs him, tells him this comes to an end. We're stopping this. Sit the hell down there. You don't." And he's like, and then the devil just sat down and shut his mouth. You know what I mean? So clearly the father knew that this was just some kind of hokey, I don't know if it was, we'll get a book out of this or something.
He's married to her, and he knows what she's, not that I want to blame the mother for everything, but knows what she's like and will entertain things to an extent. But
there's an inference later on as well that she is putting stuff in the family's food.
Well, this is this is what they close out on, and this is the bit where I was like, "What the actual fuck?"
Yeah.
Like,
well, my younger sister-in-law was staying with us for a couple of nights just over the past couple of days there, and I was watching it, and she came into the room. Now, Vivian is my wee horror sidekick. She's watched a lot of the movies with me and stuff like that. It's like, "What's this you're watching, Baz?" So I told her, and it's like, "Oh, count me in." She sat down. She got called away, but she'd watched about 20 minutes of it with me. She obviously had gone home and watched the rest of it, and I got this text off her today, and all it's like, OMG, she was drugging her family.
So there's like to give some detail, the end, the brother who's brought in at the end basically says that his mother kept meticulous notes on everything. Like she documented absolutely everything, and when he was going through her possessions and the notes and all the rest, like she had diaries, and in her diaries she kept mentioning about how she had administered medicine, all the rest. He managed to track this back to a particular, essentially sleeping agent.
Yeah.
That was apparently very popular at the time because this is America, and America you just fucking drug everything and everyone for everything. But of course, with all these things, there are long-term side effects. And one of the long-term side effects to repetitive use of said product is specifically hallucinations.
Mm-hmm.
It was basically charted off all the things that the little kid was doing, all these triggers, which she was fucking feeding her. And then it cuts to him and he's like that. I don't believe my mum did that. I believe I was possessed by like the devil, and I'm like that. What of the two scenarios here? This is the thing that drives me up the fucking wall. Like the warden's grandson who's sitting there going, that's obvious possession. Says fucking who? Like see, like the fact that, and this is where like my tolerance for documentaries like this really fucking gets like fucking hard. Like if you're a documentarian making like any sort of thing, generally you come in with a position, right?
Yeah.
You're answering a question. You're answering the question on behalf of your audience. Now, sometimes that question changes. Some of the best documentaries I've ever seen, that Cropsey documentary is a great example of that.
Yeah.
We start off looking at one thing, and then before we know it, we end up in a completely different place. And by the end, actually, everyone's been taken on this great journey, and this is where we are. My issue with this documentary is that it spends over an hour of its runtime kind of flirting with the idea that everything you've seen is kind of grounded, and so it's got all these talking heads talking about possession and all these other cases and all these other examples and all these things that happened, and look at the poor guy that stabbed the guy and look at what happened to him and he got locked up and the campaign and all the rest. And at the end it has a solitary voice, which is someone from within the family that starts basically putting doubt, and by the end of it you're left with like a two scenario. First scenario is there definitely was a possession, which, I mean, come on. And then the second scenario is, well, actually, in all likelihood, the mother was probably manipulating things and potentially maybe drugging the family to keep things quiet. Like it seems like she wanted a quiet household, which I get. Listen, I've got 2 kids, but in Scotland, we use whiskey. I mean, just do that. I mean, that's how. Like, I mean, you need to use pharmaceuticals. But well, it kind of comes in that, and I am annoyed that the documentarian doesn't take a stand, like on either. He kind of just like, well, at the end of the documentary, he's told a story, but you're not any more enriched on either side of the argument than you were before you started. A bit more context, and it is leaving it up to you to make a decision. But I don't think the second half of the case is given the same credence as the first half of the case, which spent an inordinate amount of time talking about possession and all the things that sell the documentary. And the last bit, the last 20 minutes, is very, very rushed, where I feel as a good investigative documentarian could have dug in a little bit deeper and given almost equal footing to both. But he doesn't decide to do that, and he leaves you with a, maybe she did. And I'm like, what do you mean maybe she did or maybe he was possessed? He clearly wasn't possessed, so what are we doing, Baz?
I take your point, but do you know, I actually quite liked the way they handled that for 2 particular reasons. So they gave you kind of both options, and it was then really up to you to make your own mind up.
Yeah.
But I particularly liked the way they did the kind of deconstruction of the myth part, because it to me, it was like, right, there's a hour 10, hour 15 of all of this, right? This guy here is going to tear it to shreds in about 15 to 20 minutes. Boom.
Yeah.
Because by the end of it, and I am maybe more open to some of the ideas in the first half of that film than you are, right?
Yeah.
But I was flipped on a dime, and I'm like that, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The bit about my dad steamed in, the devil sat down, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just loved that. And to me, I got this, you know, so look, they've made a film out of this. Oh, it's all looky spooky, it's the Warrens and all that. Big Brother, can you tell me what you think about this, mate?
I
Boom,
suppose you're
headshot,
right on,
you know?
Yeah, I suppose, like, it does, and I'll give you this, actually, the way you worded it, I suppose it does contextualise a lot. It leans into the bit that is known as public knowledge in a way where it really fleshes that out, and then it does, like you say, it takes it's the closing arguments in court, isn't it? It's the sledgehammer to the defence.
Yeah, and it almost highlights the ridiculousness of the first part of it.
Yeah.
You know, just because
the guy never says that brother never then comes out and says, my brother-in-law was a murderer.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. And
That's frustrating to
interestingly,
me. You know what I mean?
Interestingly, that the murder part of it, it's not that it's glossed over, but it doesn't get the attention that the possession of the child does. And at the end, as you say, see, regardless of what you believe happened here, the only one thing that we can state for beyond all doubt is that a guy was killed by another guy.
Yep.
And that guy that killed him got X amount of time.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what appears to be a reduced sentence based on a case that's put forward, which in any other country in the world would hold no weight. Like that's the thing about it. It would hold, like, you couldn't put that as an argument anywhere else in the world except the United States of America. Let's talk about the Warrens. So it's very interesting because this documentary, the thing I liked about it is, and it's not because it's like kicking the shit out of them. For me, I was never a hater of them. I was very much aware of them. Even before the Conjuring movies, I was aware of them just in general true crime and all the rest. And it was like 2013, I think, when we started the podcast up, that must be about when the Conjuring, I think, came out in 2013. So either 2013 or 2014, because it was right at the start. I want to say it was maybe 2013, or maybe 2012. About that time, anyway. It was about that period. And I have a distinct memory of being invited to chat with two other podcasters who were in the same country as us, Gil and Roscoe. We occasionally mention about a documentary that they'd seen that they put my attention to called My Amityville Horror, which I recommend to anyone out there. It's kind of this documentary, but
for the Amityville story.
For Amityville, and it's focusing on the family that moved in afterwards. So not the original like murders and all the rest. It's the Lutz family that move in to the Amityville afterwards, and of those, there really isn't that many left, and it follows the kid, Daniel, I think his name is, and basically it's his kind of first time sitting down and discussing his side of the story, which, by the way, his side of the story is it's all bullshit, right? Like, all that stuff was bullshit, and his parents kind of did it to get a book, and all the rest. But during his conversations there, Ed and Lorraine Warren don't come out great from that. And I remember watching that documentary going, I'm going to do a little bit of reading online. And the more reading I did online, the more like weird, like kind of, they were in it for themselves, they were in it for money, they were in it for, and then I was thinking about the Conjuring movie itself, which I know like there are so many horror fans and non-horror fans that love that movie, right? That first Conjuring movie. To me, I sat and I watched it in the cinema, and all it did was remind me of all my favourite like haunted house and possession movies that were better than The Conjuring. And I know that's like it's different and it's modern and all the rest, but I don't fucking care. Like, to me, I would much rather watch...
Sorry to interrupt, I am very excited to see that My Amityville Horror is available on Shudder over here. So as much as I slagged it off earlier on, thank you, Shudder, because I'm going to watch that.
All the more reason to keep your Shudder account for at least another week, Baz. At least at the bottom, that's a lifeline. They're on life support, dude. This is a lifeline. But yeah, like, to me, I look more and more into that. The interesting thing is, there are not many, like, to me, they are a prime candidate for a really good documentary that just goes in and exposes it. Yeah. Just exposes the bullshit. And it's not happened. And they have a great fucking market machine via Warner Brothers, who's releasing all these fucking Conjuring movies and the Conjuring universe, and...
Well, that's it. It's not even just The Conjuring anymore.
Yeah. It's all the stuff that's out. It's three Annabelle movies.
It's the fucking Curse of La Llorona, or these things.
One of those, like, you know what I mean? We've got the Crooked Man's on the docket sometime soon. There's a new Conjuring movie rumoured to be coming out. There's just like a myriad of these movies coming out that are all, that are, at their central core, all put forward the case that what the Warrens were doing was a pure good. Where, as we say, even if you look at this, if you watch the third Conjuring movie, which I didn't hate, right? I'm going to say this is going to get me shit from you. My favourite Conjuring movie is the third Conjuring movie. And the reason it's my favourite movie is 75% of that movie is just bullshit, right? And the bullshit is the most entertaining bit. Like, see if you strip out the kid was possessed and the murder, and you have the, like, she's trying to solve a mystery and she's touching fucking corpses and finding bodies.
Priestess.
And the police officer go, that, right, touch these 3 files and tell me which one. And like, no fucking evidence anywhere that this ever happened. All that shit. That shit is fucking, like, the end of the balls on the Conjuring 3, because, like, they crawl out of a hole in the ground as the police are showing up, and there is a fucking mutilated woman in the ground, and they don't see 1 second of prison time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the ball, it's just so bad. It's so cheesy and so out there and so bonkers and so gonzo. I love that shit. But every time we try and ground it to, well, you know, they're really God's spiritual warriors on earth. Fuck that shit, right? Like, that's the bit that just loses me. This documentary is the closest I've seen to, like, just something, like, kind of going for the jugular. And it basically, they're both dead now. They can't defend themselves. Their grandson's there, who clearly is like give me the money. Was it? The son-in-law was on that TV. There's oh man, you have to watch it if you get a chance. There's a series on Netflix. I think it came out last October, and I watched it. And it's fucking awful. I need to find this now. Where it's the it's the Warrens had a daughter, I think, and she married this guy. So the son-in-law, right, is a consultant on this. Oh, what is it called? Haunted. Let's see if I can find this. It was basically 28 Days Haunted is the name of this, right? And you have to fucking watch this, right? It's 6 episodes. It's it's the Warren's son-in-law in like a fucking NASA style like hub, basically saying, my father, mother-in-law had this theory that in any like haunted area, if you investigate by the 28th day, the truth will realise it and manifest itself to them. So they get 3 different fucking groups of quote-unquote psychic.
That's added to my watch list.
Oh, it is fucking amazing. Like, honestly, I was howling with laughter, right? It's so basically, it's a faux real thing, right? They send these 3 different groups of psychic investigators to these 3 most haunted areas to spend 28 days locked in them until they all have their different thing. It is absolutely bullshit, but it is absolutely fucking amazing, right? But Netflix they have a hard on for this, so you're getting all this Warren stuff. So the fact that this has made its way through, and there is a bit in this one where they go that the Warrens made a deal with my mum that if she sold the rights to this to create a book, that she would get half the revenue, whatever it was. And at the end of it, she got like a check for $4,800, and the Warrens made 88 grand off this.
Yeah.
And they didn't entertain it. They wouldn't answer our calls after it. Like, just the works. Like, used them for that and then dropped them and on to the next case.
Now, see, just on that, before you come off that point, because this is the point that popped into my head earlier on. So, again, coming back to what you're saying, the only thing that we know for definite here is that this guy killed this guy and did that amount of time. So at some point, the Warrens have come up with this idea that this demonic entity jumped ship from the wee boy to this heroic figure, you know, who wasn't even blood family, but loved this family so much and loved this wee boy so much that he's saying, you know, take me instead, you know, take me. It's like fucking, you know, one side out in the Exorcist kind of thing, you know what I mean? And the Warrens, they must go, oh my God, he's fucking killed that guy.
Yeah.
Here's it. Why don't we fucking do it? So they essentially got that guy off with murder for a book.
To make money.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
To be on TV shows, they talk about it. There's like a string of when they show you like when the other brother, the one that starts to like lift the curtain back a little bit, starts talking about, he's like that. My mum was having the best time of her life, being wined and dined, being put on talk shows, and there's all these photos of her surrounded by relative celebrity and the Wardens at these, like, treated to all these things, and was living a like telling this story and all the rest, was just what they did. They're grifters. This is why I fucking hate them. They're horrible. Like they suck in and they get their like. I think with a degree of certainty, if the Wardens had never come in on this at all, that what would have happened is this young kid would have been sent away and to a medical professional who would have said, I'm just going to run some tests. Oh, it looks like your son is full of this fucking sleeping agent.
This boy's full of drugs.
This boy, like, there's a reason the mother doesn't send them there and go straight to the other side, right?
Yeah.
And I think when you take that, when you look at that as the first level, that's the first harm that's being done. The second harm that's being done is the Wardens are exceptionally gifted at exploiting people. Yeah. And they exploited the fact that she wanted fame and notoriety. And like, we can fill this kid's head with, we can basically, the reason you're acting out is because of demons, which just gives them carte blanche to misbehave even more.
See, I just, I fully back what you're saying there. They are grifters, and grifters make their money by exploiting the kind of dumb and the gullible and all that, right? Now, I don't want to say that's fair enough, but a fool is easily parted from his money. The fucking thing. But to then interfere with a murder trial,
that's the fucking
other level shit. Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting because, like,
there's a guy, like you keep saying, there's a guy did 3 years for murdering a guy because he'd been pumping his missus previously, and he obviously didn't like this fact, and they get drunk one day and it came up in conversation because the brother says that. He says, there was a relationship previously, but my sister swore that this wasn't to do with that. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, when you strip it back, like, this is the bit that always, the penny that always dropped for me where I was like, well, this is all fucking like a grift and bullshit, was like the Wardens get involved with the Lutz's case at Amityville, which we always talk about. The Wardens never went away to represent the original guy that did all the killings.
Right.
That said he was possessed. He like physically said he was possessed by a demon. That's why he murdered his family. The Wardens didn't do anything with that at all. Instead, what they did was this vulnerable family that was like, they never were like, you know what, actually, this is evidence here that he killed his family. They never did that, because that isn't where the money is. The money is here with the family. And that's how you know they're disingenuous. I think it's like the movie itself, like the documentary, that was the bit that shocked me. Was I didn't think we were going to get that. Yeah. And I also don't think now that we have that we are potentially maybe all that far away from something that does a little bit of a deeper dive and says, you know what? Like, litigation be damned. There's a lot of evidence here that maybe things don't necessarily stack up. And I think that was the bit that really, I think the documentary almost gets a get out of jail card by once again putting the possessed kid back on screen, saying like that. Listen, I know I was. My mum wouldn't do that. And that's fine. It's fine. Like I say, it leaves it a little bit too much to pick your poison, so to speak, where to me, not having that belief, to me, there isn't really what is what. There's one clear, tangible, yes, this happened, and there's another fantastical, farcical element.
Here's what you could have had.
You know what I mean? Like, that's... listen, this is an interesting story. Make a great movie. This is probably what happened. Like, this is based on the true events.
This woman was a piece of shit.
You know what I mean? There's that element, so...
Before we finish up on it, the one interesting thing that came out of my viewing of the movie, the Conjuring movie, there's one particular bit in that... what's the boy that plays the guy Warren. What's that
Patrick
actor
Wilson.
called? Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
He said that there's a line that he delivers in this movie, and obviously it's a kind of snappy kind of tagline, right? But if you take it out the concept or out the context of this story and the Warrens and all the bullshit, he says something about the courts legitimise this every time somebody swears to God on the Bible at the start.
Yes.
So why the fuck can't we use the other side of that as a defence? And do you know what? Fair enough. Do you know what? And the more I thought about it, I was like, well, this is exactly what the Church of Satan was doing out there with their statues of Baphomet and all this kind of stuff.
100%. It's the loophole. It's
you
like
can't
that. If you're
have
going to
freedom
do
of
this,
religion if you just mean freedom of Christianity.
Yes, it's not supposed to be that way. That incidentally, that same argument is used on Miracle on 34th Street or 32nd Street or whatever it is.
All right.
Well, it's like, have you seen that? You have seen it. You must. You've got kids.
That's that old classic movie. No,
yeah,
I've never watched it.
The remake with Sir what's his face, Sir Richard Attenborough.
Oh, that's right. They remade it a number of years ago.
He plays Santa Claus.
Movie, eh?
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie, and they try and like.
Oh, I'm confusing it with A Wonderful Life, actually.
They try and prosecute Santa, and they're talking about belief in something that's not visible and all the rest.
Right,
and Santa's argument is he gives the lawyer a $1 bill, and on the $1 bill it says "In God We Trust." And the judge is like that. Well, if I believe in God, then this man is Santa, and I'm like that. Fucking, that's literally the argument here. If we do that, if we go along those lines, if we say those things, if we invite that into our legal process, then Satan had me by the balls, Baz.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, my name is Barry Lowe. I'm the god of sex. Bow before me.
Well, let's talk
the other way.
Right. You bring it back, right? Let's talk grades about this one. We do like to do this. That is our want on this. It's 1 through 5. 1 is hated it. 2 is didn't like it. 3 is liked it. 4 is really liked it. 5 is loved it. Baz. What Percy are you giving The Devil on Trial?
I'm actually going to give this a 3.5. One, as a documentary, I think it's well made. You know, it's well put together. It's kind of compelling at points.
Yep.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story, and I really liked the outcome, if you like, that I got from this. I have come out of this firmly in the camp that the Warrens are just utter shysters and really don't give a fuck. The realisation that they set out to get a murderer, if not off with it, a reduced sentence for profit, appalled me. And it's like you say, I think that the film could have definitely gone harder at it. I mean, there's no getting by that. But I liked it, and I came out of it going, no, fuck those people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And fair play to that guy, because the other thing I think that nobody thinks about is that elder brother is clearly been ostracised by the rest of that family.
Oh, God, yeah. He's fucked.
It's like, do you know what? There's like, he's speaking the fucking truth. His mother was obviously a nutcase.
He's fucked you know from the family for having common sense. It's...
Yep.
I mean, what we're doing here. Actually, I will tell you, my grade was going to be a 2.5. You've topped me up a 0.5.
There we go.
So there we go. I'm coming in at 3. Yeah, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. I don't advocate anyone goes and checks out that Conjuring movie, right? Because it just
no.
It just gives them fuel to make more, and I think that should stop. Even though the third one is my
favorite.
It's
not going to, but
I mean, they'll still at this stage. I've said before, the most financially successful franchise in horror, not taking into account for inflation, which once again blows my fucking mind. There's only 3 of them, And the three of those movies have made an obscene amount of money and are perpetuating the myth of fucking charlatans. But anyway, as a documentary, it tells an interesting story. Yes, it leans a little bit too much on the blah blah and woo woo and goo goo stuff.
Yeah, the hokey side of it,
Yeah, but I take your point, actually. It's what's kind of swung me around a little bit on this one. I think, if anything, it grounds you in that this is the bit that's been told. This is the bit that's out there. This is the bit that's covered in the book, The Devil on Trial, or The Devil Made Me. It's The Devil Made Me Do It, I think is the name of the book. It's been covered in all that, and it's out there, and it's the part that people know. And then the last 20 minutes is the however. And in some ways, it ends very similar to a documentary I fucking love, which is The Sons of Sam, which is the 3-part documentary on the son of Sam, which follows worth your time if you get a chance. There's a guy who wrote a book about a reporter who put forward the theory that it wasn't just David Berkowitz.
It was more than one guy.
Yeah,
I've seen it. Yeah.
It's excellent, but the end thing on that one, like the very end of the documentary, spoiler, is that there is a detail released about a murder that Berkowitz couldn't have possibly done, or an element that doesn't match in that plays into that theory, and it just leaves that as a detail right at the very end. It's like at this point we found this, and this doesn't fit the narrative. And it's just a last shot, and it does make you go, oh, fuck, because you then start to think about all the things before. Even though the narrative overall is kind of pushing one agenda, that last thing kind of adds a bit of credence to one side of the argument more than the other ones. I like that technique, and if anything, in this one, it does give you that. The stab on the other side is I found the diaries. The diaries said my mum was medicating us. This is what she was doing, and here are the side effects. And then you cut to the other guy saying that my mum wouldn't do that. I was possessed by a demon. And you're like, or if you're me, you're like, totally this. So yeah, I give it a 3. Baz gives it a 3.5. Baz, I'll tell you right now, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I have needed this. I now feel more Halloweeny, or dare I say, Bazoweeny. What Bazoweeny is what happens when it's too cold and Baz isn't wearing underwear. Had to do it, dude. Had to do it. We will be back in one way, shape, or form to do something either in November. If it's not in November, it's definitely coming in December. We're going to bring it home hard for the end of this year. But before I close this out, would you like to say goodbye to our listeners and wish them a happy Halloween?
I certainly will. I'm going to just take a wee liberty and take a couple of minutes just to say a few things, though.
Of course.
I have thoroughly enjoyed this as well. It's great to be back. I know that we had done the Rawhead stuff, but they were just very short little recordings.
My favourite, some of my favourite stuff. Like, I was listening to it in a different time zone on the other side of the world, but me and you talking about Irish stew being full of stones is up there among some of the funniest shit. I'm sure no one in Ireland will ever speak to us again, Baz.
No, we're fucked for ever going back there. No, it has. It's been great to be back, and I'm feeling much more in a place where we can do stuff like this now. As everybody probably knows, everybody that listens to the show, the reason we didn't do Bazoween was because the month before I lost my mum. Yeah. And the woman who gave us Baz v Horror, let us not forget this.
The woman who basically said, "You're not watching that." Had she not done that,
it'll give you nightmares, son.
Had she not done that, we would not have 10 years. 10 years, ladies and gents, of fucking quality. So
God bless me, Agnes. And I just didn't feel. Mum she'd been ill for a long time. It wasn't a sudden thing by any means, but it just doesn't ever prepare you. And it's hard to kind of go through that and then come on here and be jokey fun, Baz,
Yeah.
So I'm glad I've had this time to, kind of put all that in context and move on from it. And it's nice to be back. And I definitely will be back. You know, we're going to do some. I've got ideas about things. There's things that we've talked about doing that we've never got around to doing.
We have to do. Yeah, like they're on the list and we have to get them out, exercising.
Exactly. But it wasn't just my mum's passing. You know, the last year before she died, when she'd been in the home and stuff, it was a stressful year, all in. Which is why the kind of, even the output that we were managing to put out together wasn't huge.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can get it a little bit more regular and get back to it, because I still love doing this. This has been great to sit and do this. And it makes me sad that we didn't manage to do Bazoween this year, but we'll do something for that, and we'll do it next year.
Next year's is going to be fucking off the chain, man. They've no idea. Like next year, and you know what, Baz? We're going to plan it well in advance. We're going to record it well in advance,
months in advance, so there's no rush, man. We'll not make that mistake twice.
We're not going to put ourselves in a position where we're stressing about things a day before the episode drops. We'll never do that, Baz. We'll do that to ourselves. Why would we do that? All the time.
So thank you for sitting and listening to that little rambling diatribe. Thanks for listening to this show. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you go and check out The Devil on Trial. It's definitely worth a watch, regardless of your feelings of the Conjuring movies or the Warrens or fucking whatever. Quite an interesting wee documentary to check out, even just for a bit of fun. Fits in well with Halloween. I hope you all have I hope you're having a great October. I hope you have a great Halloween when the day actually comes. And I just want to wish you all a very happy Bazoween.
Excellent. Yeah, like if you're watching this on YouTube, leave us comments below. Did you check out the documentary? What did you think of it? Also subscribe, that way you never miss any of this content. If you're checking us out on the Spotify or on the Anchor, there's always a question posted at the end of all these episodes, which you can reply to. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. What did you think of the documentary? And if you're checking us out on any of the podcatchers out there, make sure you subscribe. That way you get access to the over 1,270 episodes of Podcast Under the Stairs, stretching all the way back to 2013 when we started this shit. And yeah, like that way you will always get every episode that drops and you're always up to date, especially when this man comes back and graces us with his presence, which is always a delight and joy for myself. Ladies and gents, I hope you have a phenomenal Halloween. Whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to watch. It is a Tuesday this year, which is a terrible day to do anything. But rest assured, The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and then right into Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, and then whatever will be my Halloween movie, which I haven't quite decided on yet, which is Not Like Me. And that's me. I get those 3 things done back to back, end up in my pants with a glass of whiskey, family in their bed, maybe a slice of pumpkin pie, and I am good to go. So whatever you do, have the best one out there. For the last time on this episode, wherever you are, whatever the time zone is and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish and the Baz signing off and wishing you all the best from under the stairs. Ladies and gents, until the next time.